Did you know that whatever happened to you when you were a baby is still affecting you right now? Guess how I know? We're going to talk about it in this video. My name is Danielle. For those of you who don't know, I'm a holistic health therapist and I deal with all things physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health and balance. And one of the things that people are not aware of that is affecting them emotionally today is what happened to them as babies and toddlers. Let me tell you about a session that I just did recently. I was working with a woman who was around 60 I don't really know exactly her age, but right around 60, I would say. And she was feeling really good before we started the session. I could tell that she almost felt as though maybe she didn't even need her session on this particular day. Maybe she felt like, I don't know if there's any work that we're going to have to do today because I'm just feeling great. And I always know better because there's never been a time in life that I've worked with a client that there wasn't work to do. It took 60 years to get the nervous system that she's got, and you can't get rid of that in 60 days. You just can't. So we worked on her nervous system from when she was under 5. Somehow we started talking about her childhood, and she said that an older relative was in town, and she started telling her things that she had blocked. Now, I'm sure that you all are aware that our brain's job is to protect us. So sometimes we go through traumatic events in childhood and we just bury it away. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to deal with it, or we just can't. So our brain will dump it somewhere way in the back and then we just won't remember it. And that's why so many adults, it's not until they're around 30 years old that they might start having memories flooding back about childhood trauma, molestation, or whatever kinds of abuses they may have suffered. They never thought about it, maybe for decades, and then one day they start remembering because the body is ready for them to start dealing with it. For whatever reason, the body is saying, it's go time, we need to start dealing with this now. And that is what happened with my client. She thought her childhood, she would just kind of almost poo-poo it away like, oh, my childhood, it wasn't great, but I'm here. And then I'd be like, whoa, slow down, because we can't do that. We can't keep shoving things under the rug and thinking that it's not going to impact our health physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. That's what makes us a person, all of those things. So we can't just eat and exercise and expect to be healthy while we ignore childhood trauma or whatever might have happened during our birth story that could have been traumatizing, which then impacted our nervous system for the rest of our life until we choose to heal that part of our nervous system. So after we started to slow down and really look at, what was your childhood like? She says, my older sibling told me that when my mom was pregnant with me, I was not wanted. So the mother was very, very depressed. She said, I was told that when I was born, I was always either in a walker or a playpen and just always kind of looking at the rest of the family living life, but not really a participant. And let me back it up a little bit. The reason that we even started talking about this is because when we were working on the dominant emotion that she was holding onto today, it came up that it was fear. And during the testing that I do with my one-on-one coaching clients that I've shared with you in previous videos, and we had to figure out, what is this fear about? Because it wasn't anything consciously that she was aware of, because she, like I said she felt really good. But as we really started doing some digging and some testing and asking questions, it was about a relative that was going to be coming to town that was going to require a lot of her time, attention, and care, because the relative is dealing with either dementia or Alzheimer's and, you need to really watch her. But my client is not in a position where she's able to care for someone because she hired me after having major cancer surgery, and someone told her about me. So she's still healing from that. She's not in any situation where she should be a caretaker, but she doesn't know how to speak up for herself because of the disease to please. So I said, let's figure out where this came from, to where you have such a hard time saying no when you need to protect your own health. And it started in childhood. So in order to feel value now as an adult, it looks like doing, going, when you're supposed to be sitting down somewhere, laying down somewhere, and healing. When your value is always tied to doing instead of being, and you don't feel like you are enough just because you're you, that has huge negative effect on the body and the mind, I might add, and the nervous system. So imagine you're a baby and you're in this walker or stroller or playpen, and you're always just sort of caged in, and you feel like no one sees you. You feel like no one's like even aware that you exist, and no one's holding you, picking you up, playing with you. What would that do to a baby's nervous system? It would be terrible. So there's all this longing, and there's all this desire to be seen and to be cared about when you see the other kids are getting attention, but no one sees you. So then your whole life is spent doing in order to feel like you have value, or that there's a reason for your existence in this world. And so you're never content to just be, because you feel like no one's gonna like you. You feel like no one's gonna value you. And you're never gonna get anyone's attention unless you're just a superstar all day, every day. And that's what my client has dealt with. And so even facing really serious medical situations, treatments, surgery, she still feels as though she's gotta be a workhorse or no one's going to care about her. And so the fact that that started under 5 years old, think of the weight that little baby was carrying all these years, being up to 60. It explains why she ended up having major surgery and chronic illness and disease in adulthood. Because those kind of negative emotions on the nervous system is way too much. It's way too much. And not giving ourselves permission to know that we're enough without all the busy beedness of life, really bad for us, especially females. So one of the things that she needed to do was give herself permission to see herself as enough, realize where this history with doing came from, and that it was so attached to people pleasing and not realizing her value as just her. She needed to write a letter to the 5-year-old version of herself, realizing that is what was going to heal that part of her nervous system. Her 5-year-old nervous system remembers all of this. And in doing that healing work of writing this love letter to this 5-year-old version of herself, she's going to be able to heal her 60-year-old nervous system. That sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And she could see it. I could hear the emotions coming. I could hear it in her voice and see that she too believed that's going to help a lot for her to clear some of that fear out of her, some of that desire to never give herself the rest that she deserves, to see herself as enough, to really do those self-care and self-love practices that her body is craving as she continues to heal from this really aggressive surgery that she recently endured, and to really just calm her nervous system down so that she could continue to thrive as she's working towards becoming a healthy person all the way around. So, do you know much about your childhood? Because in her case, she blocked her childhood before 5. Because the trauma, the adverse childhood event and experience of being a toddler and a baby and being invisible to everyone did so much damage that in order for her to be able to deal with it at all, she blocked it. So she had no memory. And I'll be interested to see after she does this this clearing work to clear up that pain, that fear. I'll be interested to hear when we do our next session together if some of her memories before 5 start to come back. That'll be really fascinating to get into. My question to you though is, do you ignore that baby that lives inside of you? Do you think that that's the past? The past is in the past. I can't do anything about that. Who cares? I've moved on. Well, guess what? That's what we all thought. But in my studies, I've learned that is not true. My nervous system remembers every single thing that ever happened to me. That baby that I was telling you about earlier, she fell down the stairs in her walker. You think her brain doesn't remember that, her subconscious and her nervous system? To this day, she may be really weird around steep situations, flights of stairs, heights. Those are nervous system responses, and we don't know where they come from. But then sometimes maybe someone else in the family who was older remembers it, and then they tell us, and it's like, and then we can connect those dots so that we start making more sense to ourselves. Oh, this is why I behave like this in certain situations. Oh, this is why I get a reaction almost every time I'm around certain people or certain types of people, certain personality types. This is why my body responds like this when I'm around somebody that's super controlling and they feel like they're, putting me in prison and I'm not allowed to be who I am. Those are all nervous system responses. But when we go back and we heal that baby and we heal what that person went through, and that when we were babies, born, our birth story, whatever that is, we can start thriving with whatever age we are now, and we won't have those same nervous system responses. So pay attention to the stories when people around you are saying, oh, I remember when you were a baby and you this or you that, because those stories matter. They are what determine who we are right now. And so if there's something going on right now that maybe doesn't make sense to you, like, man, why do I always act like this in this setting? There's a reason. It's called your nervous system response. It's called trauma. Trauma that you're still holding that needs to be released. Hey, if you're ever interested in a one-on-one consultation, please go to my website, woosacoaching.com. Leave me a message there, or you could even leave me a comment right here. I read them all and I respond to everything. If you want to know more about how I do this work with my one-on-one coaching clients to help them release past trauma and help them get on the road to wellness when it comes to them physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it, everything that makes you you, please reach out, because I love my work and I'm getting fantastic results. Again, it's woosacoaching.com. I do have a couple of books that I've written that are here on the channel. The links are, if you're interested in learning more about me and some more holistic material, but light reads, but where you could still learn a lot. I think the books are great. I enjoyed reading them. I enjoyed writing them. So if you want to get to know a little bit more of where I'm coming from, please take a look at my books too. But subscribe to the channel. If you like this kind of content, push a like. Please help me to grow the community, because I do think this is super important, because people are getting super sick and they don't know why. And they never think to look at past trauma or the nervous system. They don't think to look at feminine energy versus masculine energy and what does that do to your health. But those are the kinds of discussions that we discuss here on this channel, and we all want to feel our best, right? And some of us are sick of the whole pills, potions, surgeries, and we want to do something different. We want to do something more natural. So if that's you, please hang out with me here. And if there's a particular subject that you want me to discuss, please put it in the comments. I will be happy to discuss it with you. I love to hear what you guys think. I love to hear what's on your mind. So don't forget to woosah, because as I always say, the body cannot heal in an agitated state. It needs to be calm. It needs to be peaceful. And that's why we're healing these nervous systems one at a time, because it's so much easier to woosah. That's actually what you're doing when you woosah, is you calm the nervous system, which is behind so many chronic illnesses and the diseases that people are dealing with no explanation. So talk to you soon, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Monday. Bye.